Hello everybody and welcome back to the UKLC. We're chugging on with today's games. We're moving on to game number 3. This is London taking on Enclave. And I think this one, we've had some pretty one-sided affair games here. I actually think this one's going to be fun. And last game I was like mid lane. This game I genuinely believe it. Beely versus Sykes. Sykes has been a really impressive player for me. Beely has been on the scene longer, if not as long as me right now. So he's been around for a very long time. And he had an absolute corker of a LeBlanc performance in his last game on Thursday.
Leaves you speechless.
I'm hoping we get some more LeBlanc because we are moving into picks and bans. We'll see what gets denied here. We saw a LeBlanc ban versus Thomas go in the last game. So maybe it's worth banning. Beely looked
I think so.
disgusting on it.
Because I think so. London Esports have not had the start they would have wanted. They would have really wanted to be holding that first spot already because of the level of named talent that they have on their roster. No Name, Marcus Beely, like all of these players. Jeff Aohao, of course. You've got all of these players which have got such an alert to them at this point with the play that they have. But they haven't been synergizing as well as we would have wanted. They've looked a bit lost in the mid game, opting into fights which aren't so well. But they've looked strong when they have, as you're saying, the LeBlanc, the Rumble, the champions which allow these players individual agency, the ability to just go in, make a solo play, pop off. Let's see if they do it in this draft.
Well, we are into draft. We've got the Tristana, the Xin Zhao, the Akali, and the Nunu ban. Nunu has been pretty much banned against Screwmon in every game so far.
Yes.
So bit of a target ban there as we move over to the final ban here for Enclave. A lot is still open. Though we've seen a lot of the Varus earlier today. We obviously got things like Karma, the Ezreal, the Fresh. I mean, I've done this every pick.
We've said this before. Go watch. Yes, you were on the same page.
One thing to note is the Gwen hasn't been banned yet. Lucian's getting banned away by Beely. Pretty much always a respect ban versus him. And there are a lot of power picks left open in the pool because there's been some target bans. There's been this Nunu, there's been this Lucian. And there goes the Rumble. I'm expecting to see a Gwen come through now.
The thing is, in 4 has pretty much always... So they debuted last split with Viperio in the UKL. Yeah. Did well, but they did well on weak side when they were playing stuff like the Gnar and nullifying matchups, playing Malphite, GP. In fact, they played the GP earlier in the UKLC split too. Gwen, probably not the champion you would put stylistically towards that champion. That's exactly why they don't pick it first. They pick the Ezreal instead. And I know that when on paper, of the players which are seen to be the stronger side, the more prominent carries are meant to be the spot lane for Enclave. They've been given the Premier AD carry. What can they do with it?
Well, it feels like maybe London were ready for that. So that's why they didn't ban the Gwen away. Maybe they knew Infor wasn't a player who would play it. Remember, it's still technically flexible. And there it is for London. Pretty much an expected pick. They called the bluff of Enclave. Enclave did not answer back in kind, and London now got themselves the Gwen here. Sure, they did lose the Ezreal. I think I'd like to see a Karma pick up here for London, because if you give Karma Ezreal over to Enclave, Mankey and Jeppe basically just concede the lane at that point. There is nothing they can draft that will really keep them safe. So I'd like to see the Karma here as a denial pick. You can look to put it as a flexible pick, and Kai'Sa, it is a champion that we do see picked up as a counter to the Ezreal, but I feel like you could take that for third. So I'm a little bit scared by what London just did there.
The thing is, the last time we saw an Ezreal Karma go up against Mankey and Jeppe, they played themselves the Kai'Sa and the Thresh, and they just landed hooks. It doesn't matter how good your level 1 is, if you get hit by the CC, you're still dead. I think what this also allows London to do as well is to kind of hide themselves their last, their pick. Potentially, this could be the flex of the Morgana. And actually, at this point, maybe Enclave just say, we don't need to pick up our support right now. We have that Morgana flex going into the 4th and 5th picks. So if you want to pick up yourself a Nautilus, we can then kind of counter pick, because you'd assume we were going to go for the Karma. We're actually not now.
Well, I feel like they'll be looking up towards something that can potentially go up in the top lane. So if they can handle the Gwen, so they go for the Lee Sin. Interesting, because I feel like Wukong and GP are actually 2 champions that have a really good matchup into the Gwen, but slightly they don't want to go for that. They want to go for something that can kind of just weak side versus her. Once you get that whip and you kind of go for the crippling strike and the whip, you just clear through the wave in one shot. So it does mean that Akka's, might have a little less kill pressure now in this lane. And London now rotating towards their support role, picking up the Thresh. And if this is Morgana and Ezreal bot lane, the Thresh becomes a little bit less impactful just because of the hook. But again, it harks back to some things, because some people go, okay, Black Shield the hook. But at the same time, a lot of other people say Thresh is a soft counter to the Morgana. What if
isn't there a break point? Yeah, it's the break point where you break the shield.
Points in the hook that you break the black shield with the hook.
So the flay goes through.
And then you follow up and you flay. Because the hook sticks on no matter what. So you can always hook and then follow the hook. But eventually you get to the point where once there's enough points, you just break it and then you just go in and flay. So there's a lot of new things going on here.
Yeah.
And we will hop away from that and move away from that. And we look at the next ban phase. Wukong getting denied.
Oh, that pick, which you mentioned, which is pretty good into the Gwen. Well, that's what happens when you don't pick up that champion. I mean, technically, you do have the Lee Sin being able to be flexed around, whatever. If this is the Morgana bot side, you can also just put the Lee Sin in the jungle as well if you find a matchup elsewhere, which is good for your solo laners, because at the end of the day, Lee Sin solo lane is better as a stat check champion. I think it is much more valuable as a solo laner than a jungler right now. But just the ability to flex and get a better matchup elsewhere means you can kind of stomach it and say, all right, whatever. At least in jungle, it fits the shoe fits the foot right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, final ban's going to be the Gnar, another pick that can you hit on actually with Info, playing kind of these more weak side top laners. As the Maokai was also banned away by Enclave and the set, so they're not completely sure on whether or not this is going to be Akkas on the Gwen. Remember, Beely and can pick this up. It is a jungler, it is a mid laner as well.
Because one of the things with GP plays, which is also a good matchup into the Gwen too, is the GP, right? Because GP can trade very well with the passive. You get that trial by fire, you get the Q through. Your level 1 stops Gwen from being able to abuse that lane so hard and get that priority. So maybe they're trying to force this Gwen to go top lane with the bans of the Malphite and the set. They can then respond with the GP. The Olaf has been locked in. That is almost certainly going into the jungle, but I don't
think it's Adam playing it top lane.
I was about to say, I was like, oh, technically there was an Olaf top. Okay, yeah, but that's Adam. That's a very special case. It's most likely going to be that Olaf going into the jungle, Gwen going up into the top lane now. Okay, in 4, how confident are you feeling? Do you feel the GP? It is a good pick into the Gwen by many people's standards.
Well, it's been a bit of a slower pick and bans here, and now we're looking towards this Morgana going in either the mid or the jungle. I'm assuming at this point the jungle, as the Nautilus has been locked in. And now, final pickup here for Enclave. Their comp is still a little all over the place to me, so I'm not 100% sure on what's going where. They could look to pick themselves up an AD mid if they'd like. They can also just go for a AP mid, something like the Oriana, looking kind of just comfortably weak side.
Mid.
No,
I could just check that. No, it's not. Okay, well, we're going back onto the Ziggs. At least this time with a Morg bind, with the depth charge, as opposed to when Viperia playing it with a bit more tenuous CC. There are a lot of different ways to just pin someone in place, nuke them with the bomb, get them off the map.
Let's see what Billy has in his wheelhouse to actually answer out to this, because I feel like Gwen's flexibility has now evaporated. I don't think you want to put the Gwen into the mid lane. So yeah, they are going to go for the Twisted Fate, so they can actually set up in the side lanes as well and set them up for success. This level 6 now for London is terrifying. You've got the Killer Instinct, you've got the Destiny, you obviously always got the Needlework and things, but like the Destiny Killer Instinct combo in the bot lane can really set up for a long range engage, which Jeppe can then come up and follow up onto. So Enclave, they have to be a little careful as we move into this level 6 part of this game.
Absolutely. There is going to be a very dangerous point in this game where No Name is walking forward, running at the Morgana, who's going to Q him, he's going to ult through it, and then much like, well, I mean, one of the famous teams of all time are doing this was the Season 8 KT Rolster team, where they play stuff like Kha'Zix Galio, where you just battle one, you'd run forward, you'd have the global champion drop on your head. If you have yourself the Twisted Fate coming in to support No Name's Olaf, that is a duo which no one else on the Enclave team really wants to tangle with. Wherever they go, they do what they want.
I am a little worried for Enclave here. I feel like this team, you know, you obviously got the Ezreal. So the Ezreal is a champion which is, you know, pretty consistently strong. Once you got that Advanced Thunder and the Mirror Mana, there's your big 2 items. And the thing about this current Ezreal is Ezreal used to spike on like 2 items, then the 3rd item would be nice, and then after that kind of fall off. But on this Ezreal, it just keeps spiking. Every item is like another key. The fact that you can get the Frozen Heart and things like that as well for a little bit more armor, which also feeds into the mana, which feeds into damage. It's a really disgusting. It's a disgusting build. But Kaiser champion typically has done pretty well into the Ezreal, can jump into his face and just blow him up. So it's going to be a bit of an interesting one. Impulse is actually running the Exhaust in this lane, so going for a little bit of like, please don't kill me build. But outside of that, you obviously got reliable wave clear from the Ziggs. You got the Lee Sin, who's going to be on a weak side. So it's not like Enclave haven't given themselves tools to work with.
And you have Engage.
I feel like it's the ease of execution is my real concern here. Because
so, I mean,
Destiny Gold is pretty easy to set up, right, for a pick.
It is. On the other side, you don't care if you miss a Morgana Q. You're just going to keep throwing that out. But if you hit it, Ziggs is going to take someone out of the fight. They are gone. That is the central point of the ultimate. I agree. Gold card, specifically with the Olaf, that duo, really strong from London. I think that when we were, again, what I was mentioning earlier, saying, give them some more individual aggressive agency, which they can use on their own. The Olaf is great at playing into that. Get up in their faces. Use your dueling potential, because we know No Name is a player that has so far not been impressed with their own performance. I think that they have been a bright spark on this team, which has been struggling in terms of that synergy. With the Olaf now, though, they're going to be rocking and rolling right into the enemy jungle. And with that TF, as you're saying, the setup is somewhat easier.
Yeah, Aka's in the top lane, also running the pretty typical top lane combo we see on the Gwen, which is the Ignite TP.
Ignite, yeah.
Info not matching. Info's gone for the flash. Obviously, you want that flash to be able to go for those insects, so that's kind of why you go for that. If you're wondering why we're still on our phases, we actually have had a little bit of lag, so hopefully it won't be too long until we get into.
Oh no.
But it is just lag. Normally lag.
Do you want to start talking about your favorite weather again?
A quick reboot. I like snow. A quick reboot, and then we kind of get ourselves going. But yeah,
as more of a fan of Tidus,
the flame coming in is great, because Namira doesn't get what I get. I actually get the observer's computer on my screen, so I can't see all the chat. They go, oh, No Name's got some lag, and Sykes' response is, he's playing Olaf, he'll be fine.
Click them. What can go wrong there, right?
I mean, you have to land the Q, I guess.
Sure. Okay. Right.
I guess.
Yeah. I mean, it depends how far they are. I mean,
shot.
I have some horrible I mean, I'm sure plenty of people have horrible memories of solo queue games, but I think it was when I reached my highest ever rank, I wasn't actually playing mid lane, so I've disgraced my own role. I was playing top lane, and I played into a top lane Olaf that played with the Yuumi at the height of Yuumi's power. Olaf didn't need to hit anything. He got 2 pentakills that game. It was just awful. And yeah, scarred me a bit.
All right, so I'm going to give you 3 champions. Yuumi, Viego, and let's say Felios is our third. I believe this is something Excel tweeted out. Which one of those would you have removed if you could have one removed?
Oh, that's super easy. Zoe.
Yeah, but she's not in the list. Also,
yeah, I mean, out of those 3.
I don't think Zoe's that bad anymore. I think Zoe's in an okay spot. She's still pretty just powerful, but like,
yeah,
also
no. Jokes aside, broken. That's more of like, again, it's like there are a couple of champions which have like burned themselves into my memory. Like released Bard, that was something. Bard has been a very interesting champion at inting their own team for quite a long time. Then there was released Zoe.
Yeah, but okay. But you're not answering my question. You're just
out of those 3. Right now, I think Aphelios is fine.
Do you want it returning to meta? Because if he gets stronger again, it's awful. It's awful.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, it kind of has to be Yuumi, because Yuumi is a champion that, like, I mean, there are a couple of champions which do this in a good way, but Yuumi, for me, changes the way you play the actual game, like in terms of your base instincts, in such a bad way, because you're leaving your AD carry to 1v2 a lane. And the thing about enchanters as a class, I mean, Rakan does this in a better way. I think it's a better design for this. He is more safe as an enchanter than enchanters usually are, because if you're a Janna, which we saw earlier today, or a Nami, or someone like a Lulu, you can still be assassinated, right? To kill Yuumi, you have to get through the best player on the enemy team, because they're going to be attached to them. You can kill 3 people in a team fight, and Yuumi is stuck on the damn Aurelia in the back of it, and you don't get a chance to get rid of that healing, as opposed to nuking the Karma at the start of it, which I'm sure you as a LeBlanc player will relate to.
I'll agree with you on the Yuumi part. I hate Yuumi. I really hate Yuumi. I think she's a really unfun champion. I am
a cat person, but not this one.
Yeah, I she just enables champions in ways that isn't fun, and it's so it's so hard to deal with it as well, because there's no way to like force Yuumi off.
Exactly.
Off the target.
I mean,
I think they should make grounding remove Yuumi. I actually think that would be a really nice counterplay to her.
Oh yes, then you could pick something like the Cassiopeia or the Singe, just be like, plop, get out.
How do you feel like that give a rise to like on metas like that where Cassiopeia would become like a champion again? It
means there's actual counter picks at that point, right? Like late game counter picks.
Because the only counter pick otherwise is something like
Nautilus
Poppy.
Hook.
We did see Poppy where like
that's true,
she disconnects and you just press the steadfast.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I mean in lane there are ways
toilet emergency over. That was our follow up on the extended pause, but somebody has recovered and recuperated. Is rightly gonna hook onto the wall, but Jeppe will force his flash. A little bit too slow on the punch there. And they are able to get away. I think it was Sykes who had the toilet emergency.
Yeah.
Our observer is not happy. His delivery was on the way, Sykes. He timed it.
Wait, he doesn't have items.
Oh, he doesn't have items.
No. I mean, like, Sykes goes to the toilet, Rightly's sent up the creek without the paddle. It's all going wrong for Enclave at level 1.
He's now noticed.
He's realized. Oh no.
He might have to teleport here.
I mean, it's going to be close. I'm trying to... Yeah, might miss the first minion, and that means you miss... I mean, you still get level 2 off the second wave, but yes, definitely crabs for that one. That's a yikes.
All right, let's quickly get to mid. I want to see the mid lane and see what Billy can do, if he can deny anything here. I think things should be... Ooh,
yeah, 2 minions.
No,
Just 2 minions.
2. That's big.
It's huge, actually. Yeah. I mean, it's okay. In this matchup, it's not a kill matchup. It's not like you're against, you know, your big assassins or your fighters that want to start abusing that. It's still something, though. It's still something that you'll take for free.
Yeah, absolutely. Up in the top lane, Akers just goes for a quick old skip and slash. Snip. Skip and snip. Is that the name of it?
Come on. Takes them off the sides. I mean...
Skip and slash.
That's the one, skip slash, yeah. I mean, honestly, everyone gets what you're saying anyway. The great thing about communication is that you can kind of like vaguely mention it, and most of the time people will get it. It's like universal English. Point. This was important.
Good hook coming in from Jeppe. Only give me a... Okay, that's a lot more. That's a lot more damage than I expected onto Rightly.
I mean, that's Kai'Sa passive for you. CC at early levels is one of the reasons why Kai'Sa Nautilus has been a big thing. Adds an extra stack, means you can get through it quicker. With Halo Blades too, you just chunk people out. Plus means Thresh Hook, early base damage, pretty high. Very lucky that Rightly didn't get ignited. That would have got very close.
Well, Akers in the early stages having a little bit of a harder time here. Screamond able to hold the wave. I believe as our observer toggled the vision, Screamond would have been seen there, so they have the information of where he is on the map. On the other side, No Name, not really being seen quite yet. He's got a pretty quick clear here, but he's just a little bit slower than Screamond.
Yeah, I mean, even with the Morgana nerfs to the passive, which were what seriously broke that champion, because you'd be... I mean, it's one of Olath's strengths in the history of his pro players, that you clear so quickly that you can just sit there and have a good 20, 30 seconds to choose whatever you want to do on the map. And with this time he's got right now, choosing to look into bot side, no camps there, which means that it's just going to maybe be, it's going to be a ward on the Krugs respawn, so they'll have a bit more information on the next clear of the Morg.
Well, he's sitting in this tri-brush. They are playing pretty far back. There's a large wave crushing towards London. It's going to be a bit of a while as Beely also rotating over, but the pings have gone down. That was actually more spotting out where Beely was. Those pings were from Sykes. And now Beely's making his turn to show his face in the bot lane.
What is this? Is this a tour guide or something? And on your right, you'll see the bot lane 2v2. What? This is not a safari. Get out of bot lane.
There's Screwmon. Places out the ward. He's been seen. London know that he's here. They are able to clear out the waivers. Akers just going to teleport back in.
I mean, the top lane is an island. They're not joining in any of the Safari shenanigans on the bot side. It's going to get a couple of laning items, got the refill part, got a ward. And at least in 4 against this power pick of the Gwen hasn't given up any pressure in the very early game where Gwen can start, again, skipping and slashing to get that level 1 priority.
Well, 4 minutes in, and it's been a bit of a more chill one. We've seen some games today that have been very one-sided and fairly quick, especially including our second game. This time around, it's been a little bit more relaxed, especially when I expected to see a more explosive bot lane due to that hook from Jeppe, but Rightly might be looking for a little bit of revenge as he lands the hook on. They get the play back, they get a bit of CC. Rightly's going to get bursted. The ignite is big. The hook comes in by Jeppe, and the snipe by Impulse will secure the kill. London lose their support.
There's just the damage miscalculation. The extra Q comes through. The Conqueror is mostly stacked at that point. Gonna see it back again. They're trying to play around the oncoming level 6 from Beely in that mid lane. Yes, they land the return hook, but the damage is done. The Aftershock is not there for the immediate burst, and that's just a dead Thresh.
And come out into chill time. N4's got a fairly large wave stacked up, which Akers trying his best to catch on to. His Info actually doing a pretty good job of bullying him here.
He's got level 6 as well, so he's managed to get the momentary level up because he's got the wave on his side. Aki says, all right, okay, not tangling with that one, that's okay. Doesn't have the teleport for any potential bot side plays, but then again, TF just hit level 6. Yes, London couldn't find the gap in bot lane waves, and of course got themselves that one death to their name as well to set up for TF roaming. But that's very unfortunate then. Again, what in something that you pointed out very early into. Hang on, Ola, TF, very easy to look at.
Good hook into the play. Rightly has nowhere to go, and that's going to be the snipe from Mankey with a Void Speaker.
Clean as you like. Was that off vision for that last bit? Either way, the Lantern over, the taxi from Jeppe. You just got to keep saying it. Giving Thresh to this player is super, super dangerous. I think that actually was blind. That's one heck of a heat-seeking hook.
Beautiful stuff there. He obviously cleared out the vision, so they had a bit of idea where he was, but even so,
there you go.
At the time, it was a blind hook by Jeppe. And that's nice, because that's given a bit of gold over to Mankey, who, you know, after first blood got into Impulse, had fallen a little bit further behind. We can see the gold difference between the AD carries. It's only a couple of tens. It's like 30 gold or something.
Yeah.
Not
But
much.
what's so important about this is, like, you get a kill without using something important from your Olaf or from your TF. You didn't get to use those ults, right? So now that's a freebie, which means that the ward clearing support of the Nautilus isn't around for the next 30 seconds because they're in base, they've died. That means that London now have a lapse of, well, Enclave rather, have lapsed in their vision and their pressure, which means they now need to be even more afraid of what TF is going to do with their first ultimate of the game.
Well, he's got that ulti. We'll see where he decides to go with it. Killer Instinct now available on Mankey. Needlework there for Akkers. Everyone has their ultimates, bar Rightly, he's only just hit level 4. Well, is level 4, should be closing on a level 5. Maybe we'll see a little bit of something coming out here in the bottom side, or maybe not, as they look to just hold the wave here.
I mean, it has hit the turret. Yeah, it has hit the turret, so that means that at least Enclave avoid... I should just say that. I tell a lie. It is just outside turret. And again, every time you have one of these waves now held outside the enemy turret, you're kind of worried because that's prime position for Beely to get into your lane. It's switched over to the Ignite 2. It's going to be a very powerful phase of play for the TF. We've been saying that for a while. We're just waiting for the hammer blow to fall.
They're looking for it. Jeppe finding the hook onto Impulse, but not going to actually pull the trigger. That's the Black Shield. There we go. Forgot the name of the ability. Black Shield was used. And that was enough just to sway them as Beely popped the Destiny and everything. And honestly, nothing gained there for London. That was not particularly great for them.
Okay, so Enclave survived the first attempt, and this is often, I mean, much like your Nocturnes of old as well, first ult of the game can often be a very telling sign for these global champions and how they're doing, because the price for them having a global ability is a long cooldown. That's now a phase of play where they can do what they want on the other side of things. So you can see that the Ziggs very happily farming up. You know how much damage the Ziggs does in the late game, and the rest of this team is not really falling behind. They're within 100 gold of each other.
It is close as Rift Herald's going to get started up. London were obviously able to get their first Dragon of the game, but the Herald in favor of Enclave. It doesn't look like London are really in the area, although Jeppe sniffing it out will spot them out here. Has to be careful because of Rightly's hook, and that is going to be enough to find the connection as the bomb comes down. And Jeppe will lose his life. Enclave going to be able to pick this up for free unless No Name is feeling ultra chatty here, and I don't think he is. Rift Herald secured.
Yeah, this is the response to London have a gold card teleport. That is one of the easier things to execute on. Well, Ziggs, if he has that large amount of CC to pin someone in place long enough, is just a point-and-click ultimate in themselves. Huge amounts of base damage. Gets through there. Jeppe, even with the Aftershock, gets completely nuked out of existence. It's a freebie for Enclave as London try and check that Herald.
We're at the 10-minute mark, and Jeppe, Angry Dad Fresh is coming in. Not going to land it. When he's got Moby boots, he runs around so angry. Ooh, that was close. He just runs around the map so angrily.
Oh no, it's the reactions all over again.
That hook was close. That hook was close.
In fairness. Even with the delay, I was sat there like, ooh, hang on, a bit dangerous.
Impulse felt the breeze of that lobster claw on his bum, but it didn't connect.
Yeah, wow, it's crazy how we've got all these toilet break references going this time. Billy still has the next ultimate.
How is that? Hold on. How is that
Okay,
anything
I don't
to do
know.
with going to the toilet? What are you doing on the toilet?
Maybe it's like a bidet or something. If you look at
What? Bidet uses a lobster claw.
Not gonna lie, it is a bit of a stretch. I apologize. I'm sorry. I'm looking for things to say. It's been a slow-paced game.
Billy. Oh! No, Billy's dead. Billy is in for a hole. What? He flashed, he lived. Oh, no. This is just action everywhere. But okay, nothing really gained. Can I have some action, please?
Exactly. You know, this is what happens when the... Oh, okay. There we go. A little bit of something. You see why I am stretching for things to say here, Brain. I'm looking here going, those are some cooldowns they've got. That's nice. Back to the Safari of Summoner's Rift, because we're not here for any kind of all-out action or anything, are we?
No, apparently we're here to just watch people farm. And I'm flaming. And I don't think this is particularly the wrong thing for either team to do. As the hook comes in from Jeppe, has to throw the box at the Destiny Gate, has been pulled, and Impulse is standing still, so the gold card will follow up. Mankey slides in forward, and the needlework is coming through. Akers is trying to find a little bit more to work with here, as they do get popped back for the moment. Impulse coming in, and the hook comes down. That's Akers finding a shutdown. He's sustaining for everything, but he's locked down. In4 going low, and In4 able to jump to safety. Mankey unable to follow up for the kill, and it is a 2-for-1 in favor of Enclave.
Okay, not a bad play from Enclave. We again see the TF come to the fight, but it's only evening up the numbers at this point. Gwen does Gwen things, has the Riftmaker at the start of that fight, if I'm not wrong. Either way, all of those 1,000 cuts, the death by 1,000 cuts, comes in strong enough to get a return kill. But Enclave turn it on, and London, when they're meant to be in the ascendancy at this point of the game, feeling a little bit rough at this point.
Really are. Just head into the replay once again and see the action. Jeppe just getting caught off guard, really.
Yeah, and so we see that Impulse comes through with a huge amount of burst damage, and it doesn't really matter at this point that the gold card is onto Impulse because they still have the flash. The exhaust comes out pretty big too. The damage is somewhat done at this point. The Olaf dies very, very quickly, and what you want to be doing with the Olaf at this point is, if you do end up surviving, your Conqueror stacks and gives you so much value, particularly at this point of the game, before the carries have built up their items high enough to burst you out before you can start regenning. Just doesn't happen at this point. London choose a bit of an awkward fight.
They do indeed, as Info is going to get zoned away from his tower. It's going to be a bunch of plates gifted over. But Sykes actually should just be able to take this tower down. He's got the satchel.
Very true.
Can he get it with the plate gold? Yes, he can. That's a lot of gold injected into Sykes. You can see the gold difference now. He's got himself a 800 gold lead. While Impulse also farming up some plates here. So the gold lead now starting to slip away from the side of London. They are starting to struggle a little bit to these Impulse members. The plates will fall off. Impulse won't be able to get any more plates, but we'll be able to get a bunch of damage into this tower.
For sure.
Start to wear it down to the point where that's a potential place for them to take and just, you know, burn a little bit more gold.
For sure, every little helps at this point, right? I mean, Enclave secure that earlier Herald with that pick onto Jeppe. They managed to get down some plates in that mid lane, which means that the Ziggs does have the ability to satchel it down. 5 plates onto that Ziggs. That's a healthy amount of gold injection because, again, Ziggs has always been a champion that scales well. The question is, what can London do now to start breaking up the map in their own sense, because their global mid laner, the TF, has lost their first turret. That is often a very bad sign, because they then don't get to get the priority that they really want to force someone like, again, the Ziggs or the Ezreal, whoever's wave clearing mid at the time, to stay at their turret and not be able to be to respond to their big ultimate play. But now that's gone, it's kind of hard to do so.
So here comes the true shot just to clear through the wave, and a lot of damage was dealt to that tower, but it wasn't enough to take it out, as Akers uses the Hallowed Mist just to make sure that he doesn't get hit by the hook. Or the binding, sorry, as Jeppe may be setting up here, but there isn't really any follow-up, so it's just going to
we saw that
gatekeep the bush.
We saw that plenty last game with hooks onto Ziggs in the mid lane, but there was a lot more follow-up, as you were saying.
Well, this time there's some follow-up. Maybe not. Oh my lord.
Oh gosh. So about that gold which Sykes got, that's being put to very good use there. Early magic pen built up. Got those cork shoes. Got the Ludens already. There's a good amount of burst damage, particularly once the aftershock wears off. Jeppe doesn't really want to stand and fight. Wants the Ziggs to be dead during that CC timer.
Billy, honestly, not been too impactful this CF. 0-0-0, got the Everfrost. Hasn't really been able to find an opportunity to pull that Destiny. Has done twice so into fights, but ultimately not been able to afford his team a kill or anything to really work with. Zinfor shoves in a wave. This is the wave denied from Akkers. He's now off in the bot lane. And that tower is at destruction point. Sykes is just going to let most of this wave go.
Wait for the cooldown.
Buy even more gold on the side of London.
Well, there's no plates, and again, you're not fighting around Herald right now because that's not spawn. He's just denying the gold, making sure that the wave is not going to be on too awkward of a spot. I think this is actually going to slow push back to no, he's just pushing it. Okay, whatever, that's fine. We'll ignore that particular point. But as you're saying, the wave is still gone. Gold's still gone.
Lovely hook. Jumping in, Screwmon, you're not going to be able to survive this one. As Mankey, Killer Instincts in to secure the kill for Beely, the first kill of his game so far. And remember, last time we saw him, he had a really, really stellar performance on the LeBlanc. This time, being a little bit quieter game for him. Has got a CS lead over Sykes, but Sykes just doing so much work for the team. Thanks to the amount of towers he's able to take. The Satchel just does so much damage to these towers.
And the passive from Ziggs was buffed against structures recently too. We did see it play from Immortals and the LCS, but your ability to push towers on the Ziggs is really strong if you ever get the chance to free hit. Just one more auto on here or another minion wave, and suddenly that's a dead inner tower for not really much time spent from Enclave. Very efficient from the Ziggs positioning.
Jeppe coming here to defend, but that is now in Satchel range, and the tower will go down.
There you go.
London starting to bleed out a little bit here, starting to struggle and find any opportunities to get themselves into the game. We've got Dragon spawning in a minute. The second one for either team as well. It's 4 turrets to 1. Gold lead. Just 2,000 in favor of Enclave. 3,000, sorry. It ticks up. But big gold lead in the mid lane right now.
Yeah, and so obviously a lot of that comes from all the tower gold which Ziggs has taken. But one of the problems with Ziggs is that, okay, so you've cracked down those outer turrets, but you need to get further. You need to break up the base. And then often a Ziggs will stall out at that point. You need something final and normally a really big fight or a Baron to start actually ending the game, because sometimes all you're doing is just trading minion waves back and forth because you're just going to push them into tower where someone's going to pick them up. There is still a window in this game where London are still not too far behind to start getting the picks like the one they just got onto Schemon in the enemy jungle. How far is that going to go, though? They themselves are taking some side lane turrets. Gwen took one. Beely takes the other on the Twisted Fate. London Esports at least returning some favors in kind.
Well, Ocean Drake's going to get picked up for the side of Enclave. London not really able to contest that one. So Beely's just going to try and get a bit of damage done to this tower, but hasn't really got the wave to do. So just chunks it out somewhat. Hasn't got a Sheen either, so not really got that additional damage to work with.
No, he doesn't. He's going to stay on the top side, has the teleport and the Destiny Gate. And plus, when you're pushing into inner towers, suddenly that TF ult gets from top, doesn't just get from top to mid or mid to bot, something like that. You can go the whole length of the map if you're pushing into inner towers with just 4 seconds left to start roaming between those lanes. It's a much shorter distance to travel, and that means that Enclave, if they are at any point taking a cross map while Beely is pushing into those inner turrets, suddenly you have to be a lot more careful about your positioning.
I've got a question for you, actually, because I don't know how this mechanic works. How does Destiny Gate interact with Paranoia?
So that is actually a very good question. So,
I mean, I'm going to go for the Paranoia goes down first, then the Destiny, but I guess it doesn't really matter either way.
So I'm pretty sure that the Paranoia, it rules out the vision from the Destiny Gate, but you can still teleport to anywhere within range, right? What is also interesting is that I'm pretty sure that Gwen's W, the Mist, actually blocks out the Paranoia vision if it is cast while she's in her W, because you're untargetable due to spell effect. Yeah. Much like if you got a Banshee's Spell, you ignore that.
Yeah, Malzahar as well, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting.
Yeah, no, that's not one which I've seen that often. I
genuinely might have to go test that, or someone who's a bit smarter than me tweet me.
If anyone wants to add us, anyone wants to sit type in chat, let us know. That's an interaction which I'm quite. Is one of those niche ones.
I don't have chat open. I won't see your answer.
Type it to someone in chat that will answer us then.
Just tweet me at HitBrain. Let me know. Genuinely curious how that interaction works, because I've never seen before.
Yeah, neither have I. But of course, with both those champions being in meta, it's quite an interesting one to see. Because of course, particularly at the pro level, one of the reasons that champions like Nocturne are used is because you can do from solo lane Paranoia TP, and then no one can respond in kind. With the TF, you can never remove his ability to teleport, but you can potentially stop his vision coming through.
20 minutes
Not
in.
relevant in this game, but...
And so far, 2 items are starting to come through for all of the members of Enclave.
Yeah.
London also getting somewhat close. Here's that Destiny looking to jump in onto Info. He has no tower to jump to. But that Destiny just spotting them out on a very early Baron. Really knows this is going. The Destiny did reveal that. And they're all a little bit low. Sweeper comes through. And London are coming in. They're actually going to bring a teleport in themselves. This is going to be a fight. This is going to be so close. It's taken. It's secured for Enclave. But the fight is on slow for the moment as Mankey's going to get knocked up. And it's Enclave who are going so low. Mankey not able to secure the kill, but they're chasing in for more. London on the heels of everyone for Enclave. They got the Baron, but at what cost? The binding goes a little bit wide, and Akers will snip through as Mankey secures the kill. Only one remains with the Baron.
A slow burn turns into a bonfire, a conflagration. It's a 4-for-1. Gotta go back into that replay. Enclave say enough. All right, we've seen the all-in on the bot side. Maybe we can get ourselves a play. TF earlier escaped the Destiny Gate. They think that's another person who can't get into the backline. But you do see the Kai'Sa coming through very early, and the Ezreal just cannot heal for themselves well enough. Without the Ezreal, without mana on the Ziggs, importantly too, the DPS is in favor of London, and they run down the fleeing members of Enclave.
Well, to come out of the replay now, Sykes is the only one with this Baron to work with, so team may just group up with him. They can still use the Baron for a siege. But London just too slow to the punch there. The Destiny revealed that Baron pretty much the moment it started. But Enclave just carried on with it, and London were not prepared to go for it.
Because I think the initial part of that Destiny is more of the defensive Twisted Fate ult. We think, oh, I'm getting collapsed on. Maybe I need to teleport out of lane. I think they saw Enclave moving up towards him, and he thought, okay, let's get out of here. And then Enclave say, well, he's just teleported away. We're on the top side of the map. That's a Baron start for us. But as you said, they're still on vision. London get that early warning system. They just about get away with it, the amount of kills they've got. But it was very close to being very bad for them.
Incredibly close. Now, Beely's off in the bot lane. He's actually looking to shove this tower here. So Enclave gonna have to peel back a little bit. Sykes obviously has some pretty solid wave clear. Got the Horizons focus finished up. It just looks like this tower's gonna get sieged here. Beely still doesn't have the Lich Bane or anything, but he does have a bit more attack speed to work with thanks to his item choices here.
Yeah, the Kerchic Shard and the dagger in there. So he's going for the Fire Cannon third. Very important, because if you manage to land that onto the Ziggs, onto the Ezreal, suddenly that is a very important target to follow up on for your champions like your Gwen and your Olaf, who sometimes need a bit of help sticking to their target.
Did London just forget about objectives this game? That is a Baron, that is a Dragon just taken for free. They've Destinied here now. Is actually looking to come in and see if there's an opportunity to find a chase. Gold card's getting charged
way
up.
off.
Beely gonna jump over the wall, comes in for the gold card, a great black shield as he has to go in for the stopwatch. Now the bomb's gonna land and Beely will lose his life. The kill is secured by Sykes. Akers jumps in with a needlework and impulse. It's a fancy haircut as the passive is stacked, but it is gonna be cut straight off. Akers secures the kill, and London just find himself a couple of kills, 2 for 1.
I mean, at the end of it, they've still forgotten about the objectives. It's Ocean Soul for Enclave, and they are still not ahead in gold. They do pick up some kills. That's going to be the end of the Baron buff and the Baron power play from Enclave. They're not going to get much for it. It's a bit late into the game, but London Esports are still finding some uses of this global comp that they've constructed for themselves.
It's not Ocean Soul, luckily. It's just the Ocean Dragon. But the one away.
Sorry, yeah.
The one away, like you said, Soul Point. It's gonna be a bit harder for London. They don't have any anti-heal to kind of deal with this, and we can see again the pitch. Beely sacrificed himself, but he did set this play up. He did enable it for the team.
He did. I mean, Beely kind of does Ziggs works for him there and puts the crosshair on his back for the ult. So this still only turns into a 1 for 2. And the other thing is London don't have waves in position for this to lead to anything. It's a good amount of gold in the pocket. That's nice. And that does go onto the Kai'Sa as well. And Kai'Sa is, as ever, a hyper carry who does it all or does nothing. Wants to be diving in. We already
just use the dash. Info just use the dash. The gold card, the Everfrost, and Akers will needlework him down. The blue card as Akers secures the kill.
Oof.
And now here comes Screwmon, seeing if he can find an opportunity. Not able to do so. And Beely, gold card charged up. A great hook, actually, is going to land into the depth charge. London aren't really set up for this as the true shot barrage is flashed away, and Akers is just doing so much work here. Caught out by yet another binding. The Hallow Mist will give him a bit of safety and ultimately not punished there for the side of London. They're going to be able to take this tower as well. I don't think Enclave are going to be able to do anything about this one.
Okay, in for... Okay, yeah, that's a bit of cooldown counting from the London Esports. They see Lee Sin on boss, so they think, okay, cool. That's no mobility. Does kick away the Gwen. They've already stacked up the Conqueror, and they get through to that final cast of the ultimate, that needlework, and that's a heck of a lot of damage when you get those 2 to 3 items coming in. Base damages are very high for that champion. What that means now is that London, for the first time, well, I mean, continuing this trend, I suppose, have continued their pressure on the other side of the map. They've got a good forward percentage. They're making sure that the Ezreal and the Ziggs cannot set up at one of their turrets for a siege. They have control of the map, at least for now.
The resets are coming in. We're only 26 minutes in. It feels like this game's been a lot longer because it's been quite slow paced early, but
yeah,
we're only 26 minutes in. We're still pretty quick on this game, and Enclave still doing a good job of just holding on for the moment, as they were ahead in gold. I think it's really big actually for London has been the team to turn this game around.
Yeah, and it is using those tools that we've been kind of asking them to use a lot earlier into the game, and they failed at the first couple of attempts, and then, oh, they got to pick onto the Morgana. That's good. And then they start using it to battle around the bot side. Okay, some more golden pocket. They're still staring down at that Ocean Soul point. If they mess up one more time, that Ocean Soul is going to be very, very important, particularly when you do have the Nautilus and the Lee Sin trying to be a bit tanky in the front line. Zonya's the Morgana, Zonya'sing and regenning while in stasis too. Enclave have ways to use this Ocean Soul quite effectively in these fights. But London do find themselves now at some important points of power. 3 items on the Kai'Sa, almost 3 on Akers, 2 on the Gwen. They're very ready to dive into that backline and make sure that Ziggs and Ezreal don't get to use their item spikes of themselves.
Well, you can see that sieges are getting actually started up in all of the side lanes here. Beely, he's got a lot of attack speed. He's going to take down this tower fairly quickly.
He's got a pot as well.
They're going to throw the Mega Inferno Bomb, but it's not enough. Beely takes the inhibitor tower for free. He's going to teleport out the Destiny. Enclave not even able to punish. Beely, beautifully played by him there.
So he picks up the Sorcerer's Elixir. He goes up to that top side. And remember, on every auto attack, you get that extra burst of damage onto towers. It means he shreds through it with the extra attack speed. No, it's not a Lich Bane. You still have a lot of damage from your cards and building AP from that Twisted Fate as well. That's a free objective. London settling into a better phase of play now.
Yeah, Beely just going to hold this mid-wave now. Does have to deal with Sykes, but remember, the Dragon is spawning in a couple of seconds' time, and London, they need to find an opportunity. Destiny on cooldown. Hook's going to go wide as Impulse able to dodge away on that as the hook from Reikley hits the wall, but the binding, the follow-up from the knockoff as Akers is there on the flank. Beely locks a couple of members down with the Everfrost, and the needlework is cutting for everyone. A massive true shot barrage as Beely dodging away from the free members as the shutdown is picked up by In4, but he is cut down in his prime as London will secure the kill. They will secure the Dragon as well. No way Enclave will be able to contest that one. And London, a beautiful team fight for them, puts them back in control.
Lots of questions asked of London Esports, their synergy, how they play around this comp. Well, they have given us an answer that they are ready to play and ready to win and give themselves an opening in this table. Beely with that Everfrost makes this fight so hard to continue from Enclave. This Ziggs and this Ezreal need to be putting out the lion's share of the damage, and they are separated away from the targets they want to be hitting. And that means that the Nautilus, the Lee Sin, who have already gone in, already been caught, have no way out.
So makes it the replay now. Dragon in favor of Enclave still. They are still one away from that soul. But you just saw how much time Beely bought. Beely was actually able to deal with 3 champions and just not get punished. He had the Zonyas available if it got too hairy for him. Has now got himself the Needless Large Rod, so actually avoiding the Lich Bane entirely here on this build.
I mean, I suppose he thinks that the blue card in itself will be more important. Akers is feeling bold as well. The solo laners of London Esports did so well in their last fight. Beely, probably the MVP, but Akers was the person who corralled them into the right place. Made sure that they couldn't retreat back into their own jungle, because Akers was already there. But and then you have that Everfrost, and it's just, wow, okay, cool, locked in place, no way to relocate.
In4, getting
not again.
chased down, he's fine.
That's it.
He's fine.
Tanks it up with a W.
Oh, that could be a Horizon's focus from Beely, actually.
That actually is probably not awful. I mean,
Gold card, because then you get bonus damage on the wild cards.
And if you ever Frost does it as well, you still immobilize the champion, and that's the extra damage through that. It's a fairly cost-efficient item. It's one of the few items in the game which can increase true damage too, which is why Zoe builds it so much. Not many things can do that. Not really relevant to the TF, but a little bit of trivia on that one. It's more cost-efficient. I think if he has enough gold for a needlessly large rod, you'd probably see him going towards a death cap instead, because he's already got 3 items. He's probably going to go towards the death cap actually with that amount of gold, just because, I mean, Rising Focus is nice, but death cap's the death cap, baby.
We'll see what he decides to go for. Zaka skips and doesn't slash. Baron's now up. Beely, no teleport due to the fact he's got his summoner spell switched out, as Mankey will spot out rightly in the bush. But Beely does still have that destiny. I wonder if they're going to trade some stuff here.
Well, we saw how quickly Beely shredded turrets earlier. He's only got
the phone, there's the flash, there's the hook. Bomb comes down into the true shot barrage. Akers jumps over the wall. The needlework is huge. Rightly being chased down. And Akers is just cutting through them. Snip, snip, and Enclave are destroyed in the fight. London come out on top.
Oh my gosh. Kai'Sa disappears, but it's not enough. I thought that the Zigzag might have given Enclave the opening they needed to finally take a clean team fight. It's not to be, though. London and Akers clean up shot.
Beautiful fighting here from London. London is showing this is their strength versus Enclave. They are a team fighting team. Let's have a look at it again, because it started on Enclave's terms.
Absolutely. I mean, that's a Kai'Sa 100-0. They got precisely 1 auto attack out during that, if I counted correctly. But while all this is happening, Akers has the W down right in the middle of the fight, and Sykes and Impulse cannot damage the Gwen. They get that Conquer stacking. They've got themselves the Riftmaker healing too. Akers does all the damage, regens all it back, and is so hard for Enclave to deal with.
I mean, they are lucky that they one-shot Mankey, because if Mankey had survived there, he would have Killer Instinct onto the back line, and that would have been an ace.
For sure. And that's, I mean, this is a 3.5 item Kai'Sa going towards the Infinity Edge third. Like, if that, fourth rather, if that is completed alongside the Collector, that's probably the two auto and a Q death threat from that point. Because the Collector's in, gets you below that percentage HP amount, and you just die. Doesn't matter. You don't even have a Frozen Heart from the Ezreal. This is not the most defensive build. I think Impulse has realized they need to be doing significant damage in these team fights. But the problem is, they're not surviving enough to do that because they can't dive into Akers' W. They die in that area.
Nice hook by Jefe, but it's not really going to get followed up into 5 members of Enclave. Destiny has been popped, and here comes the flank. Akers trying to jump in over the wall. Beely working his way around. A great hook comes out, and the fight is on. Bomb's going to go wide. Beely buying time on the backline as he is just kiting and fighting away. Akers able to secure himself a kill. As here comes Mankey into the backline. He goes, but he is taken down, and Beely also going low. The bombs are going to be quite enough, and the double kill has been picked up for Akers. And the slam's coming in, and Akers is going to skip. He's going to slash. He's going to cut everybody on Enclave down. The resurrection comes through, but this will be the end of days. 4 in 4 as Akers has to stopwatch to survive. On top of the bombs he goes. And 4 will get the shutdown. The Grand in his pocket. Enclave have just flipped the fight back around. London are routed. They are caught out of guard as Screwmon takes out Beely. Only No Name stands.
For the first time in this game, Enclave find themselves a way to distance their backline while still being able to do damage. They find themselves a great fight and the Ocean's Soul off of that. Will this break the back of London Esports? It's looking pretty close to it.
I thought it started so well for London, but it just crumbled at the seams. You need to look at this again, because once again, Beely able to deal with multiple members.
Oh, this Twisted Fate is such a nuisance on the side. You see it, Impulse having to use the E early. Beely, he has a rapid fire cannon. You know the CC chain's going to come through, and there is only one black shield. While all this is happening, again, Akers is doing what they've done in the last series of fights and continually kept on the play. Info has a GA at this point, though, and a heck of a lot of stats. This is what solo lane Lee Sin gives you. That stat block to keep regenning with Gore Drinker with that W regen as well. And while all this has happened, look, Sykes is still alive at the end of this. Uses the phase rush to get away from the Olaf with the clever use of the flash and the W as well. And with Sykes staying alive towards the end of it, it is just enough to turn it around.
Oh, that true shot barrage. They knew exactly where they were. Now, London. What do? They've got to deal with a Baron push, and Enclave, they don't even care about side lanes. They just want to run down mid. They got a Ziggs. They can take these towers, and No Name's going to have to pop the ultis and survive. The Ragnarok is burnt, and like you said, the backs are stopped. Akka's off in the top lane, in the bot lane, trying to find some kind of an answer here for the team, as Goldcard's going to connect, and a fair amount of damage will fall off onto In4, but like you said, he's pretty sustaining, he's pretty tanky. This tower's going to go down, Inhibitor will be next to follow. I don't think they have what it takes here, as Beely's going to get himself chunked out pretty heavily. The bomb's going to land. The teleport's going to come in. Beely has to use the stopwatch. The hook lands onto the tank. Mankey goes invisible and starts underneath the tower for the moment as they're getting the damage off, as No Name is low, but the shields are huge. Here comes Akkas with the needlework. Gets instantly hooked up for the sustain. The damage, the healing is there. Akkas is just about to die, but he's able to survive for long. Mankey slides onto the backline. How is In4 not dead? Sights is trying to kill Mankey. Mankey has to heal. Mankey has to get back to safety, as Enclave have done it. They're going to take the Nexus. London are wiped, and Enclave take the win.
It's such a hard-fought game. It's even in kills as the Nexus falls, but even or not, Enclave match the game score of their opponents in this one. The table looks very interesting now.
That is exactly the kind of game I wanted to see. A back and forth game where it wasn't clear-cut. And Enclave, you know, they made some mistakes, but ultimately their early prioritization on these dragons and honestly recognizing that London were kind of ignoring the objectives sealed them the deal. Beautiful game coming in from them. Anyway, it's time for us to quickly throw to a break. When we're back, we'll have an interview and a bit more of a breakdown on that game, so we will see it in a moment.
This is light. This is right.